To discover that a little magic can go a long way.
It's a disaster. I've lost them in the corridors of time.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're diving deep into the comedy graveyard of 2001, a year that gave us some truly spectacular theatrical disasters. I'm breaking down 10 comedy films that absolutely bombed at the box office that year.
Just understand what has happened to you.
I am Devo the Sixth. A wizard sent us to the future.
Wow.
Drop a comment down below telling me which of these movies you think deserve better and which ones earn their place in the bargain bin. Let's jump right into it. Movie 10, Just Visiting.
Hi, honey. This is 2001’s.
Bonjour. Oh my God.
Run behind the chariot, peasant.
You can't run behind the car.
He's very fast.
You can run 70 miles an hour, can you?
I have good boots.
Just Visiting represents an American reimagining of the hit French comedy titled The Visitors. The screenplay was adapted for American viewers by the legendary John Hughes himself. Tragically, this would become his final produced script and the last film to bear his credit. Unfortunately, it's far from the farewell Hughes deserved. The narrative centers on a 12th century French nobleman journeying to England for his wedding to Princess Rosalind. However, disaster strikes immediately. During the wedding celebration, he slipped poison, begins experiencing vivid hallucinations, and in his confused state, fatally wounds his own bride-to-be. Consumed by guilt and desperation, he seeks out a sorcerer to reverse time and undo this terrible mistake. Naturally, the magical spell malfunctions spectacularly, catapulting him forward to modern-day Chicago in the year 2000. Once there, aided by a present-day relative, this bewildered medieval knight must navigate the complexities of contemporary society while searching for a way to return to his own era. The film delivers exactly what you'd expect: culture shock humor, fish-out-of-water scenarios, and countless moments of medieval confusion in the modern world. The ensemble featured Jean Reno, Christina Applegate, Malcolm McDowell, Tara Reid, and Bridget Wilson. Production wrapped in 1999, but the finished film languished unreleased until April 6, 2001. When it finally premiered, it faced stiff competition from Along Came a Spider, Blow, and Pokémon 3, the movie. The box office results were devastating. It debuted in 12th position. With a production budget of $35 million, Just Visiting managed to scrape together only $16.2 million globally. The bulk of that revenue came from international markets, while American audiences essentially pretended it didn't exist. Critical reception was particularly brutal, with numerous reviewers drawing unflattering comparisons to the superior French original. Ultimately, Just Visiting became a cautionary tale of its own, making a remake that journeyed through time, but probably should have remained in its original timeline. Movie 9, Osmosis Jones.
You're lucky you ain't in a scab. Uh-oh, looks like we got some germs on that egg.
Baby, it's Ozzy time.
It's probably gingivitis. Don't get carried away.
Combining live-action footage with animated sequences, Osmosis Jones stands as one of the most peculiar hybrid experiments of the early 2000s. The film tracks Frank, an unhealthy, widowed zookeeper portrayed by Bill Murray, who contracts a severe illness after consuming a germ-contaminated egg that really should have come with a hazard warning.
This is Jones to dispatch. We got multiple germs, I repeat, multiple germs coming down the windpipe. And if these bad boys hit the bloodstream, we're gonna be killing.
Inside Frank's body reimagined as a thriving metropolis called the City of Frank, a reckless white blood cell police officer named Osmosis Jones partners with a cold pill to prevent the lethal virus Thrax from shutting Frank down permanently. The voice talent was exceptional. Chris Rock voiced Osmosis Jones. Lawrence Fishburne brought the villain Thrax to life. David Hyde Pierce played the neurotic cold pill Drix, and Brandy Norwood voiced the cell Leah. Meanwhile, the live-action portion starred Bill Murray alongside Molly Shannon, Chris Elliott, and Elena Franklin.
You a germicidal maniac.
Oh, saliva patrol. Son of a flatulence! They swiped the patrol car!
Warner Brothers greenlit the project with a substantial $70 million budget. The Farrelly Brothers produced, while the animated portions were directed by Piet Kroon and Tom Cito. The live-action segments were helmed by the Farrelly Brothers themselves, specifically Bobby Farrelly. Released on August 10, 2001, Osmosis Jones arrived during a crowded marketplace. It competed against American Pie 2, Rush Hour 2, The Princess Diaries, and Jurassic Park 3. Despite the star power and innovative concept, the film underperformed catastrophically, earning merely $14 million domestically. Critics delivered mixed verdicts. Many praised the imaginative, animated world-building and clever biological humor. However, they simultaneously criticized the crude live-action sequences featuring Bill Murray, calling them tonally inconsistent with the family-friendly animation. The jarring contrast between the two styles confused audiences about the film's intended demographic. Despite its theatrical failure, Osmosis Jones eventually discovered new life on home video and cable television, where it cultivated a dedicated cult following. The property even spawned an animated television series called Ozzy and Drix, which ran on Kids WB from 2002 to 2004, proving that sometimes creative ideas just need the right platform to succeed. Movie 8, Black Knight.
Oh, shit!
He's yours to ride.
Me?
Black Knight features Martin Lawrence as Jamal, an employee working at a deteriorating medieval world theme park. While cleaning debris from the attraction's moat one afternoon, he reaches for a strange medallion floating in the water and gets instantly transported back through time to 14th century England, specifically the year 1328. What unfolds is a continuous parade of cultural misunderstandings, royal confusion, and Martin Lawrence doing what Martin Lawrence does best, reacting with maximum volume to absolutely everything happening around him. New Regency produced the film alongside Fox, with both studios splitting the $50 million production costs. The theatrical release landed on November 21, 2001, which proved to be disastrous timing. It opened directly against the unstoppable second weekend of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, plus Spy Game and Out Cold. Essentially, Black Knight never had a realistic shot at box office success in its quest for theatrical glory. Critical response leaned heavily negative, with reviewers stating that Black Knight plays like a hastily assembled production packed with uninspired jokes and endless mugging from Lawrence. Not exactly royal treatment from the press. When the dust settled, Black Knight collected less than $40 million worldwide, cementing its status as another disappointing entry in the early 2000s comedy catalog. That said, I personally watched this movie multiple times, and while nobody would mistake it for a masterpiece, I genuinely found entertainment value in what it offers. Sometimes a ridiculous time travel comedy hits exactly the right spot, even when it misses the box office target completely. Movie 7, Say It Isn't So.
Come on, have some more. You probably don't eat this well very often, not on your salary. I'm gonna leave him alone.
Oh, that's okay, Joe.
Say It Isn't So is a dark romantic comedy built on a premise so outlandish it feels like someone accepted a challenge. Chris Klein portrays Jilly, a sweet-natured orphan who falls head over heels for Joe, played by Heather Graham. Everything seems perfect until he receives devastating news. She might actually be his long-lost biological sister. Naturally, the couple breaks up immediately. But then Jilly uncovers the truth. They share absolutely no DNA whatsoever. Armed with this revelation, he embarks on a cross-country journey to halt her wedding ceremony. Unfortunately, the entire nation has already been led to believe he's simply some disturbed individual desperately pursuing his sister for reasons nobody wants to discuss publicly. The Farrelly Brothers produced this project for 20th Century Fox. After Fox outbid Columbia Pictures in an intense bidding war, they unfortunately discovered that the only prize they'd won was the opportunity to finance a comedy that cost just under $30 million with minimal prospects for a graceful landing. The film hit theaters on March 23, 2001, sharing its opening weekend with Heartbreakers and the Brothers. Critics immediately savaged it. One particularly memorable review summarized it perfectly. Those who haven't grown tired of the Farrelly Brothers' signature comedy style might discover some laughs here. For everyone else, the sluggish pacing and unoriginal shock humor will quickly become tiresome. Audiences overwhelmingly agreed with the critics. By the conclusion of its theatrical run, Say It Isn't So had managed to accumulate only $12.3 million globally, establishing itself as both a commercial disaster and critical failure. Movie 6, Town and Country.
Everything okay? Porter, I want to ask you a question. Right before you answer it, I want you to think about what marriage is.
Arriving in theaters on April 27, 2001, Town and Country was positioned as a major risque romantic comedy. On paper, it possessed all the necessary ingredients for success. The cast was absolutely loaded with heavyweight talent. Warren Beatty as a high-flying New York City architect, Diane Keaton as his wife, and a supporting ensemble including Goldie Hawn, Gary Shandling, Andy McDowell, Jenna Elfman, Charlton Heston, and even a young Josh Hartnett. Initially pitched as a modest $14 million production, costs exploded dramatically once the major stars signed their contracts, and filming commenced without a completed screenplay. Over the subsequent 3 years, everything spiraled wildly out of control. Endless rewrites, extensive reshoots, scheduling nightmares, and reportedly dozens upon dozens of takes demanded by Beatty on set drove the budget into the stratosphere. When production finally concluded, the total expenditure allegedly landed somewhere between $90 million and $105 million. And that figure doesn't even include marketing and distribution expenses. After suffering through more than 12 postponed release dates, the film eventually stumbled into theaters with virtually no promotional fanfare, zero cast press tour, and an absolutely minimal marketing campaign. Predictably, audiences stayed far away. Globally, Town and Country managed to generate approximately $10.4 million in ticket sales. Critics were absolutely merciless, complaining about a re-edited, rewritten disaster of a film populated by characters so wealthy and self-absorbed that their midlife crises felt impossible to emotionally invest in. The final result? A textbook case study of Hollywood excessive project that evolved from a small romantic comedy into a catastrophically expensive disaster, ultimately becoming one of the most notorious box office bombs of the entire early 2000s era. Movie 5 Monkey Bone. Released on
Need this body! So get back here! Cause I got it's a bone saw!
On February 23, 2001, Monkey Bone represents one of those films that makes you question what exactly was happening at Fox during the early 2000s. Loosely adapted from the graphic novel Darktown, the production stars Brendan Fraser, Bridget Fonda, Chris Kattan, Giancarlo Esposito, Rose McGowan, Whoopi Goldberg, and even John Turturro. On paper, that ensemble sounds like chaotic yet promising fever dream material, which is entirely appropriate since that basically describes the entire movie. The storyline follows a cartoonist who slips into a coma and awakens to find himself trapped inside his own twisted underground creation. While he desperately tries to escape, he's forced to compete against his own mischievous, marketable, and extremely treacherous character named Monkey Bone. The film blends live action with stop-motion animation, creating a visual aesthetic that's simultaneously impressive and completely bewildering. Originally, Ben Stiller was attached to star as Stu Miley, but he abandoned the project to join Mystery Men instead. Consequently, Fox proceeded with Brendan Fraser, handed director Henry Selick a substantial $75 million budget, and then seemingly forgot the movie existed. Monkey Bone scraped together a mere $7.6 million worldwide, transforming it into a colossal box office catastrophe. Director Henry Selick later blamed Fox for the virtually non-existent advertising campaign, and frankly, that accusation seems completely justified. Critics weren't particularly generous either, describing the movie as original and filled with bizarre visuals, but ultimately too shapeless, with unengaging characters trapped in random situations that never successfully build comedic momentum. In simpler terms, Monkey Bone had imagination in abundance, just not the type that translates into movie ticket sales. Movie 4, Joe Somebody.
Was a devoted father.
Did you always know you wanted to be a video communication specialist?
Actually, Spider-Man, that's what I always wanted to be.
Dad, this is supposed to be serious.
In Joe Somebody, Tim Allen portrays Joe Sheffer, a timid single father who suffers complete humiliation in front of his young daughter after getting physically assaulted by an office bully in the company parking lot. Realizing he's reached absolute rock bottom, Joe makes the decision to finally stand up for himself. Enter Chuck, a washed-up B-movie action star turned martial arts instructor, played brilliantly by Jim Belushi, who agrees to transform Joe into someone capable of defending himself and perhaps recovering a fraction of his lost dignity. The film also features Patrick Warburton as the workplace antagonist, alongside Julie Bowen, Hayden Panettiere, and Kelly Lynch completing the cast. Financed for $38 million by Regency, Joe Somebody was dumped into theaters on December 21st, 2001, essentially a cinematic battlefield. Its competition included massive releases like The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, How High, The Majestic, and numerous other holiday blockbusters. Unsurprisingly, Joe didn't stand much of a fighting chance. The film opened in 10th position and concluded its run with merely $24.5 million worldwide. Critical reception was mixed at best, with reviewers calling it a peculiar picture featuring meditations on depression and self-discovery, awkwardly disguised as workplace comedy. In other words, not amusing enough to qualify as comedy, not profound enough to succeed as drama, stuck in an uncomfortable middle ground between genres. Movie 3, Freddy Got Fingered.
I had the sausages and the string. I was playing the organ, and then he smashed my half pipe.
Freddy Got Fingered follows an unemployed cartoonist who relocates back to his parents' house along with his younger brother Freddy. When his parents finally demand he get his life organized and move out, he responds in the most unhinged manner imaginable, by falsely accusing his own father of abusing Freddy. That's the actual plot, and that barely scratches the surface of the absurdity contained within this film. Written, directed by, and starring Tom Green at the absolute peak of his MTV Chaos era, the production was financed by Regency for a modest $15 million, with Fox handling distribution. After test audiences reacted with pure confusion and horror, more than 30 minutes of footage were removed before release, which is genuinely terrifying when you consider what remained in the final cut. The movie premiered on April 20th, 2001, competing against the family-friendly Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. It debuted at number 5 for the weekend and ultimately collected $14.3 million worldwide. After theaters claimed their percentage, Fox recovered approximately $7.8 million. Critics absolutely annihilated the film, with numerous reviewers declaring it not merely bad, but the worst movie they'd ever witnessed in their entire careers. Audiences weren't significantly more forgiving either. The film won 9 Golden Raspberry Awards and 5 Stinkers Bad Movie Awards, essentially sweeping every worst of the worst category available at both ceremonies. And yet, in one of the great paradoxes of early 2000s cinema, Freddy Got Fingered discovered a second life through home video and DVD sales, where it eventually recouped some of its theatrical losses. Because apparently, given sufficient time, people will eventually watch absolutely anything. Movie 2, What's the Worst That Could Happen?
Good look, you asshole. Does this look like the face of a man who got where he is by giving away? You.
Mr. Fairbanks. He cussing on TV. He tight.
What's the Worst That Could Happen? Stars Martin Lawrence as Kevin Caffrey, a thief who breaks into the mansion belonging to wealthy businessman Max Fairbanks, portrayed by Danny DeVito. But the robbery goes sideways immediately. Fairbanks catches him red-handed and steals Kevin's lucky ring, a gift from his girlfriend. From that moment forward, Kevin becomes obsessed with retrieving it, dragging his accomplices played by John Leguizamo and Bernie Mac to a revenge mission constructed almost entirely on pettiness, ego, and escalating stupidity. Co-financed by MGM and Hyde Park Entertainment for $42 million, the film arrived in theaters on June 1, 2001, opening against The Animal and Holdovers, Shrek, and Pearl Harbor. It landed in 5th place during its opening weekend, and things didn't improve from there. By the conclusion of its theatrical run, the movie generated $38.4 million worldwide, leaving MGM with roughly $17.7 million after theaters claimed their share. Critics were thoroughly unimpressed. Reviews described it as a waste of talent, stating that the talented cast is squandered by an uninvolving screenplay packed with unfunny gags. One critic even joked that perhaps the worst thing that could happen is that every other movie at the multiplex will be sold out this weekend. In the end, the film answered its own titular question with unfortunate clarity. Movie 1, Saving Silverman.
If anyone has any objections, speak now.
I do.
What?
Neil? Hello, my friends. Hello.
Neil.
Neil, get to the part where we say I do.
Saving Silverman follows Darren Silverman, portrayed by Jason Biggs, whose entire life gets completely hijacked when he begins dating Judith, a controlling new girlfriend who appears determined to systematically erase everything he cherishes, including his best friends, their Neil Diamond tribute band, and his opportunity to reconnect with his childhood sweetheart. His lifelong best friends, played by Steve Zahn and Jack Black, decide the only reasonable solution is to rescue him through a plan involving kidnapping, duct tape, and absolutely zero common sense whatsoever. The film also stars Amanda Peet as the intimidating Judith, delivering a performance that's simultaneously memorable, hilarious, and slightly terrifying. Financed by Sony and Village Roadshow for $22 million, the movie premiered on February 9, 2001, landing at number 3 during its opening weekend behind Hannibal. It concluded its domestic theatrical run with $19.4 million. After theaters claimed their percentage, Sony walked away with approximately $10.6 million. Critics weren't particularly impressed, describing it as a leftover from the late 90s comedy boom, and stating it was dragged down by a plot lacking any logical sense and featuring obnoxious, unsympathetic characters, more crude and mean-spirited than genuinely funny. Still, once home video and cable sales were factored into the equation, Saving Silverman probably reached break-even status, though not because audiences were rushing to rescue it from obscurity. And there you have it, 10 comedy films from 2001 that crashed and burned at the box office. Some of these deserve their fate, while others might have been unfairly overlooked or just released at the absolute worst possible time. Looking back at 2001, it's fascinating to see how many of these movies featured massive budgets, incredible star power, and solid premises on paper, yet still managed to fail spectacularly. Whether it was terrible timing, non-existent marketing, production disasters, or just audiences not connecting with the material, these films serve as reminders that success in Hollywood is never guaranteed. So which of these do you think got treated unfairly, and which ones absolutely deserve to bomb? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane through Hollywood's comedy failures, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.